Hi, I'm Sam Tarry, Member of Parliament for Ilford South. Today, November the 27th, marks Maaveerar Naal, a day across the Tamil community in Sri Lanka and major cities across the world where Tamils remember those that died resisting state oppression, their bravery and their suffering. I know that many Tamils in my constituency of Ilford will be commemorating today at home, unfortunately because of the COVID restrictions in place in our communities. In Sri Lanka, elected Tamil politicians, the relatives often of those that were killed and the dead of the wider Tamil community, have faced state repression in attempts to remember their war dead. So simply visiting the remains of Tamil cemeteries that were bulldozed by the Sri Lankan government. And I'm aware that this year has been no different. I stand in solidarity with Tamils in northeast of Sri Lanka and in the UK as they commemorate this day. The UN has been clear that Tamils have a fundamental right to remember their war dead on November the 27th, and I will continue to pressure the British Foreign Secretary and the British government to make sure that such representations are made to the Sri Lankan government. As well as remembering their deceased today, the Tamil community will also be looking with concern at how current events are unfolding on the island of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's new government has rejected UN resolutions calling for an international accountability mechanism for war crimes. I'm also aware that the human rights situation for Tamils and Muslims on the island is rapidly deteriorating. That is clearly unacceptable and something that needs to be tackled swiftly and directly. At the same time, the ongoing militarisation of Tamil homelands in the northeast of Sri Lanka, the attacks and intimidation of civil society and journalists are a serious concern. In fact, the UN Human Rights Chief has called on the international community to take a much firmer stance with Sri Lanka, and that our government here in Britain must respond to this by leading on efforts for a new resolution at the next Human Rights Council session. And I am clear that any future trade deals with Sri Lanka must be linked to a tangible progress on those important UN resolutions. Sri Lankan officials that have been accused as well by the UN of war crimes must clearly face targeted sanctions. And finally, I'm also aware that the root cause of the ethnic conflict in Sri Lanka is directly linked to the legacy of Britain's colonial past on the island, and at that time its failure to maintain governance structures that allow different nations to come into being and then coexist on the island. Too many lives have already been lost in Sri Lanka's ethnic conflict over many decades, and now it is the responsibility of Britain to play a leading role in ensuring that a peaceful political solution is found in Sri Lanka that is beneficial to all peoples on the island and respects the right to self-determination for the Tamil people. And I'll be clear, the Labour Party has and always will stand shoulder to shoulder with the Tamil community and all of those across the world fighting for self-determination and against injustice. The Tamils clearly in their struggle to end oppression and for their own right to self-determination to come into being.